So the big debate has happened. Debate number one, Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. And before we do anything else, actually, can I have a show of hands of everyone here in the studio who either watched the debate or has seen some footage of it? Oh, not so much. Okay. Dominic
You're
George,
surprised
I'm
about
surprised
that,
because
you?
every other person that I've spoken to kind of has either seen some footage, i.e. they've seen clips on YouTube or whatever, or they watched it live. 100 million people, they reckon, tuned into that debate yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, these people have been working hard, Pat. They
True.
don't have time for frivolities in a US, general election. For goodness sake, they have more important things to get on with. 100 million people, though, I mean, it's basically beamed around the world. If you didn't get 100 million people, what's going wrong? I mean, you have to. You're talking about basically the global population.
Yeah, well, like the other thing is interesting is it was everywhere. So I watched it at home in front of my screen while I was working on my laptop. But then as I was doing that, I noticed there was multiple live feeds on Facebook. There was live feeds on Twitter. It was everywhere. So you don't need to have a Sky subscription anymore. You don't. I know that the guys.
You don't even have to have a TV set.
No. So you watch it at work on your. So yeah. So it's not like the old days where you had to sit down in front of your TV. It was everywhere, and it was broadcast on the radio as well.
Yeah.
It was literally everywhere.
It was everywhere.
Probably right. How did you think it went?
Oh, well, I mean, it was clear. The assessment is, and pretty much, every political pundit that's weighed in on it has said it was a points victory for Clinton. She stuck to a game plan, tried to get Trump riled, didn't overly succeed, but he did come out with some of those Trumpish, outlandish claims. Do you really, I guess you talk about the one where he goes, oh, well, it was really trumpeting the fact that he's proud that he can avoid paying taxes.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's also a guy who said that he could basically shoot
someone in
the middle of a street or whatever, and people would still vote for him. So
here's the thing about the pundits. Ironically, CNN, who most people are looking at the results, I think TVNZ showed the CNN result last night for the poll, 67 I think to 32 said Hillary won. Breitbart, Fox News and Drudge Report, all right-wing media, all said Trump won. So it's an interesting thing. But what we want to move on to very quickly now.
He may as well not have turned up. They would have still said he'd won.
Possibly, yeah, because it would have been a bold move not to be there.
I mean, seriously.
There is a gentleman called Professor Allan Lichtman. Professor Allan Lichtman has done a bunch of research back in the 80s of all the elections between 1860 and 1980. So he used all that data to form a formula called the keys. Now the keys does not bring into account polls, or it doesn't bring into account any kind of popularity, or it doesn't bring into account debates. It purely looks at these keys, and there are 13 of them, and you have to get 7 of them obviously. And if you get 7 keys, then you are the next president.
It's predicting the next president, the keys to the White House.
And so since he's had these keys in place, he's been able to call the election since 1984 every time. Sometimes he calls the election 2 years out.
Okay.
And he's been right every single time since 1985.
So what's he picking this time?
So the good news for some, bad news for others perhaps, is that he's called Trump to win the election.
Really?
So Trump may have lost the debate, but Professor Allan Lichtman says Trump is going to win the election. Absolutely, really. And I'll show you what they are. Let's bring some of these keys up there, Tim. Q17, eh? So these are some of the keys. We're not going to go through them in their entirety. We put a link in the list and you can go have a look at it. Party mandate contest, incumbency, third party, short-term economy, long-term economy, and policy change. Now, as I said, we'll put out a video and the link to him explaining what they all are. But basically, of these three, and we flick over to the next page and follow the last few. So these are the keys. And the keys are basically 13 true-false questions, or yes-no, where the true answer favours the incumbent. If 6 or more are false, then the party in power loses. You got that?
Yeah.
Now, this guy is no fan of Donald Trump. He calls him a serial fabricator. So he's got all that. He's purely looking at it from the protest point of view. Now, can we bring up Q17 again? Because I'll show you one thing. So see third party, it's key number 4, right? Third party means if there is another significant party in there.
Yeah.
Lichtman and basically it is 6 all to that point. This is going to be the deciding vote.
Right.
Basically, if Gary Johnson gets above 5%, Trump is going to be the president. If Gary Johnson gets below 5%, Clinton will be the president. At the moment, Gary Johnson is projected to get 6 or 7%.
Okay.
So that's the prediction from the keys. If Gary Johnson gets above 5%, which he's currently looking like he's going to do.
Then it's no good for the Clintons.
He's currently polling between 10 and 14%, but Lichtman says we halve it. Right? Yeah. So he'll get if he gets 7% on the day, Trump is the president. This guy's been right every time since 1984.
Okay.
We'll put a link down below to a video of him explaining it, his keys. but he has just picked in the last week or so Trump to win the presidency.
Well, there's a first time for everything. This is the first time, hopefully, that the Allan Lichtman test fails. I mean, seriously, imagine what sort of world that would be with Donald Trump as leader of the free variety. What a shambles.
What it means is if Clinton does win, it'll be historic for more than one reason. The first woman president and the first time the Lichtman keys have been wrong as well.
Exactly.